In this third video, we're going to look at the additional records elements of the NIPAD. So the additional records are used as supporting documentation that are not formally fitted inside initial progress and final discussion elements of the records of discussions, but they offer the ability to provide further feedback to students and also document any concerns or issues that need to be documented during the progress of a student's practice learning experience. So these are quite simple templates for the majority. The first one is a practice supervisor's notes, and this again can be completed by the practice supervisor as considered necessary. So for example, they may want to include in here aspects of practice that have been extremely positive, that they felt they weren't getting to record in the other records of discussions, or if there were continual issues for a student that they wanted to capture here as well. So for example, repeated lateness or a repeated issue that's been flagged that doesn't seem to be improving, this will be the area to capture that. And so this page can be duplicated as necessary. Similarly, the practice assessor has the ability to do the same thing in the practice assessor notes. And then thirdly, we would see that the academic notes, which can be completed by the linked lecturer, practice tutor / academic assessor, but these are to be completed on every visit by that academic member of staff. So that's the formal record that they have visited the student, and they're going to document the progress that's been made or any issues that have been flagged at this point as well. And so again, if anything has been raised, brought to the attention of the academic member of staff, then they can also put their record there as well. In these additional records, we also have a developmental plan, and this can be used really to address anything that's raised at any point. It's really quite a generic development plan to pick up on any issues that come up. So it can be used for any process where a development plan is identified as necessary. So for example, if the service user care feedback is completed and it identifies an issue that has to be addressed, we can use this developmental plan to do that. Essentially, this developmental plan will identify what that learning and development need is, and then how that will be achieved. So how will that be addressed? What will be done to address that learning and developmental need? And at the bottom, you will see that the practice assessor who will complete this will agree it with the student, and they will set a date for review. Now, when it comes to that review, following the developmental plan, they will tick that it has been achieved. If it has not been achieved, then no will be ticked, and there will be a new developmental plan or record of underperformance will be completed. So if it's a very significant issue, that really is a significant matter of underperformance, we can move to the record of underperformance. If it's something that we feel just needs a little bit more time and more attention, we can develop a new developmental plan and sign it off and set another review date for that as well. So the record of underperformance. So this is completed if a practice assessor, supervisor, etc. has concerns about a student underperforming outside of the set review time, so outside the initial progress and final discussions. Now the linked lecturer or the practice tutor or academic assessor should record their notes in the academic notes section that we've just looked at previously. The practice assessor then should cross-reference this record in the records of discussion. So when it does come to a point of formal review, for example, the progress or the review or the final discussion, there must be a link made back to this record of underperformance if this has been completed. Now this record is only to be used if it's required, and it can be duplicated as necessary. And underperformance is when a student is performing below the level expected for their stage of education, and this can be anything in relation to their knowledge, skills, attitudes or values. So this is where you feel there is a significant issue around a student that has to be addressed. So here the practice assessor will set out what that concern is under the area of knowledge, skills, attitudes and values. Now, if they do have this significant concern, then they need to have escalated that to the nominated person and who that was and the date that occurred, but also have escalated to the link lecturer, practice tutor, and who they escalated to that and the date. Now, it's important then that an action plan is agreed to address this. So students need to have the opportunity to address any such underperformance, and so we must set out the learning and development need and how that will be achieved. Again, that will be signed off by the practice assessor and the student, and a date for a review set. And when the review occurs, if it has not been achieved, then another record of underperformance can be created, but obviously this will be reflected in the records of discussion and will be considered at the point of summative assessment as well. And that completes this third video that looks at elements of the NIPAD. So at this point you can now progress to the fourth video, which will be looking at the supporting evidence within the NIPAD and how that is to be developed and authenticated.